Now there's some other stuff we're going to want to do, like throwing on even a basic texture coordinate system for it, but let's get a little more advanced. For now, let's just drop this into Unity, see how it plays. We can see how important it's going to be for us to put even a placeholder texture alignment on it. So I'm going to press Control S to save. And also, I'm going to save this directly in my Lighthook Assets Models folder. Naturally, whatever your project is, however you want to organize it, anywhere in your Assets folder is fine. I'm going to call this level Showcase. By the way, you'll see level quick test. This is not my first run of this video. I'm going to click on Save Blender File. And part of what's really awesome about Unity is it's going to read that Blender file in just in its native format. So I clicked on Unity to open it. It's going to take it a second because it had to interpret that level. Now let's say I want to see that level in Engine. First thing I'm going to go duplicate a scene. Depending on the kind of game you're working on, often in Unity the way we'll build another level is we'll duplicate an existing level and tweak it. So I can open up Test World, yeah, save the changes. Or Quick Level Zone or whatever. I can pick any other old level and duplicate that level. So I clicked it down here. Oops, escape. I don't want to rename it. Edit, duplicate. I'm going to call this one something new. Let's say Showcase Scene. Oops, Showcast. And now, even though when I double click on it, you can't even tell we changed from the one we duplicated from, you got to watch up here as to which scene file is showing in Unity. So Showcase Scene as opposed to Quick Level Zone. I want Showcase Scene. That's the one I just want to start from scratch on. I'm going to select the old level mesh that I had. Going to delete it with the delete key. And notice that because we duplicated the level, we already have, in the case of Lighthook, I have my player object with all of its necessary various prefabs and connections and other tricks going on, as well as we have a placeholder in-goal object in the level, so we know we can finish a level as long as it winds up somewhere accessible, and the main directional lights, which are just kind of my heavy-handed approach to making sure you can see at all times in the game space. But we need the level mesh. So I'm going to go to, in my Assets folder, the Models directory. Here's where I saved Level Showcase. I'm just going to drag that mesh into my Unity scene. And now the first thing that you're going to notice is that level mesh is probably tiny. Assuming that you started, so here's my whole player object, here's my level mesh. Assuming that, like me, you started from the default cube, the scale tends to be pretty small compared to the scale in Unity that we often work in, where one unit is kind of 1 meter. So if I press play, like there's the whole level right in front of my face. Let's make it bigger. Now we could go to where we import the model, level showcase, here in Unity. We could change that scale factor. What I prefer to do is to change it in Blender. I'm in object mode, right click to select. I'm going to press S to scale. And how much bigger do you think I want it? Maybe that big. I don't know. Control S to save, left click to confirm the saving over. Go back to Unity. It's going to take it a second to update, re-import the model. And the reason why I prefer to do it this way, whoop, thinks I'm trying to resize my window. The reason I prefer to do it this way is that it makes sure that there's minimum complexity as to like differences in import settings, as to if I don't want to, there's so much stuff you can mess up here. I'd rather keep the import settings as their default unless I have a good reason to change it, and just direct change things in the model where I know the size of things, the relationship of things, consistent to Unity. All right, so this looks like it's going to be a little bit better of a space to navigate. Still a little bit cramped, but workable at this point. And I can look around, and yeah, this looks like this is going to be workable. But so you may not know this about Lighthook. I have a little red dot on my targeting reticule right now because it can't see those walls to grapple to. It needs collision data to do that. Okay, well, how do we turn on collision data? Now, one of the neat things in Unity we can easily do is add a mesh collider, which is going to use the actual mesh geometry as the collision data for our walls. So with level showcase selected, which you can see because I can see the wireframe for my selected object, I'm going to go to Component, Physics, and Mesh Collider. It assumed I wanted Mesh Cube. Now maybe you're thinking like, but like I don't want a cube. Like this is obviously not a cube of an object. If you press the circle next to it, what you'll see is actually your level mesh is called cube. That's not what you named the file. What happened was, remember we started with the cube as our primitive, and so back in Blender, in the hierarchy of our scene, it's called cube. But we'll come back to fixing that in a second. For now, it works. I'll press play. And if you have code that does raycasts, or physical collisions and other things, it can now see these surfaces. I can now zip around in this space. I can, oops, tunnel might be a little too narrow. I can explore these tunnels that we made can see these angles. I can decide how I feel about the space and iterate on it very, very quickly, very, very easily. That red dot you're seeing sometimes, part of my engine implementation checks to see if I have room to teleport where I'm trying to go. And it's based on a raycast itself. So here's the room we kind of built off the tunnel with a little extension, tunnel down it. But so we can now explore that level. It might take multiple resize attempts and adjustments, but that's pretty neat. Now, obviously it's hard to see your way around this level when it's all a solid color. We'd like to texture it. Before we do that, we're going to fix the fact this is called cube so it doesn't stay that way. Or you'll wind up in my situation where like my Eiffel Tower is also called cube. So are these test meshes. So is my scarecrow. So is my skyscraper. You can see this grandfather clock is called plane. Don't be. You can do better than what I've done so far in my quick test materials. All right, so we're going to rename cube here in Blender. I'm going to right click on it. Click rename. Instead of cube, let's call it something that reflects the name of our file. Let's say showcase mesh, because I called it level showcase.blend. Control S to save, left click to confirm the overwrite. I'm going to go back into Unity. It's going to take it a moment to do the import again. And right now, it lost the mesh. It thought it was pointing at the one called cube inside this file. It's now confused because it can't find the reference to cube. All I got to do is click on the circle next to it, and I can scroll down a bit. We know that we're looking for showcase mesh. There it is. And mesh, showcase mesh, makes a lot more sense and will avoid us getting mixed up as to which cube or which cylinder is which, especially if we start having a lot of levels in our engine that are all extruded cubes or other kind of basic cylinders and other primitives. And once again, just to prove to you, it's still working. I can click on stuff. I can warp to it because the colliders and the raycasts are finding these surfaces thanks to the mesh collider that I've added. And also I want to show, before we get into the texturing bit, oops, undo. So here in, just like we changed the scale, so if we look at kind of the first thing we see when this room starts, you know, I look straight ahead and I see this wall in front of me. Let's say I want to do something else to that wall. Who knows? So here's the part. I'm going to press tab to go into face mode. So here's kind of the first wall it seems like we're looking at. Let's say we maybe want to change something about that. We can put another tunnel off here on the right. Okay, let's practice what we did earlier. I right click to select the face, E to extrude, escape to cancel that, S to scale it down. I'm now going to use G and X, Y to slide the wall, or in this case, remember too, I could just click and drag the arrow handle with my left mouse button. So I've got a face further down, and now I can extrude it going down, make a new tunnel off to the right. And just a reminder, we can of course do such a thing. I'm going to do this opposite on the other wall, where I'm going to extrude, escape to cancel, just the movement, not the extrusion, S to scale. And now in this case, I'm going to move it down, but I'm going to do something different. I'm going to extrude it out. Okay, and I'm going to extrude that out. Give me a face up here to extrude out. Give me a face here to extrude out. Face here to extrude out. Just going to kind of make a little curious, wacky mesh. And remember, you know, so I'm just building this kind of shape as a little quick sculpting. I can select this point and move it in, move it up, kind of make a funny corner on it. I might move down a whole edge. Let's just select a single edge, move it down, select an edge. And you know, maybe I'm building a pipe or an air duct or an alien decoration or you know, a mine shaft that cuts through the section you're currently exploring. Who knows? Not terribly important. But the point I wanted to show is I can make these changes and additions. Control S to save. Command, of course, if you're in Mac. Left click to confirm it. I go back into Unity. And as soon as it takes a moment to load, there it is. These are now in my Unity game. Immediately and automatically. It just re-imported the model. This is, of course, an amazing capability for testing out and iterating on your levels. Aha! There we go. I can see immediately, I can go down to the end of my tunnel, but my tunnel isn't thick enough. Ooh, already getting disoriented. My tunnel isn't thick enough to grapple into it. See that? It won't let me jump because there's not enough width to my tunnel, because I know how my collision thing decides if I have enough room. So I can go back into Blender, I can select, in this case, let's say I want to select this edge on my tunnel. Left click and drag. Select the top edge, left click and drag. Okay, I've got a bigger tunnel. Let's see if that tunnel is big enough. I'm going to go back into Unity. Give it a second, watch the tunnel over here. Pop, it's bigger. Press play. And that's good. Now I can jump into the tunnel immediately. And so in this way, you can very quickly, rapidly iterate on your level navigation geometry. All right, now like I mentioned earlier, we currently have the problem of our whole mesh is untextured. Now, if you're already familiar with Unity, you might think, well, we'll just slap a texture on it, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. We can just do that. I'm going to show you in the next video the complications of that, and then some of the corrective procedures and things we'll be able to do just to be able to get something on the walls, even if it's not fancy, because right now, if we put a texture on it, it's not going to do what you expect. But I'm going to show it in the next video. Thanks for following along so far. Hopefully now you've got yourself a level mesh in Unity, if not in Light Hook and some other practice project, and are learning how to shape out rooms, spaces, and hallways with just a few simple tools in Blender. I'll have more for you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.